We're gonna go over the most likely breakouts for every team in 2024, beginning with Grayson Rodriguez of the Baltimore Orioles. The former first-round pick had strong expectations going into 2023. Unfortunately for Orioles fans, he was a major letdown at first in his first MLB stint, putting up a 7 ERA, resulting in him being sent back down. He was recalled in July, and he was never sent back down again. This Grayson Rodriguez was developed, putting up a 2.59 ERA in 11 starts. Based off of his development, I expect him to be a top pitcher in 2024. Now moving on to the New York Yankees. This was a team that was heavily relying on young talent last year, and the biggest out of that bunch was Anthony Volpe. Volpe was a top 3 prospect in their farm, and because of that, he had so much pressure and he had so many expectations. He had an underwhelming rookie year, and he faced a lot of criticism from fans across MLB. But I'm here to tell you, it was not nearly as bad as you'd think. The 22-year-old hit 21 home runs in his rookie year. That's a good amount of power for a player who's so young. To go along with that, he also won the Gold Glove at shortstop. If he manages to stay consistent, he continues his power hitting, and has another year of good defense, he could be a lock for a breakout in 2024. Now going over to a division rival, let's head over to Boston. They have a young group of players in the lineup, and in the rotation even, that they're relying on, and the player who stands out to me the most is Brayan Bello. The 24-year-old pitcher had a good 2023, but it definitely wasn't perfect, putting up a 4.24 ERA. Regardless, he has one of the best pitch mixes in baseball. He's a nasty sinker baller, but he needs to continue developing. In this offseason, Boston knew that, so they hired a brand new pitching coach by the name of Andrew Bailey. Bailey is the one who developed Logan Webb's sinker into a top MLB pitch. If he could develop Bello's sinker into a top pitch, that would be great for Boston. Now going down to the Bay Area, we have the Rays. Unless you're Patrick Starr and you live under a rock, you have heard about the Wander Franco news. More news came out yesterday, furthering our suspicion that he will not be returning. This is going to force them to look elsewhere and to go with a new direction at shortstop. The good thing for Tampa is that they already have their guy. His name is Junior Caminero, and last season, he made his MLB debut being called up straight out of AA. Unfortunately, he didn't play enough to give a true MLB analysis, but based off of this kid's AA season, he was great. Not only did he have 31 home runs, but he also had a .324 batting average. Mark my words, he will be the next star for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. Be prepared to see him next year. Last but not least, in the AL East, we have the Blue Jays. While they may not have Grayson Rodriguez, they have a very similar arm. 21-year-old Ricky Tiedemann, he's the #1 rated prospect on the entire team. Yet again, another strikeout pitcher with tremendous upside. In 1 year, he went from single A to double A to triple A. He's expected to be up at some point in the year. Now moving into the NL for my next division, we have the NL West. Starting out with Colorado, aka the worst organization in MLB history. Finally, they have talent, they have pieces. One guy who stands out to me is Ezequiel Tovar. In case you've never heard of him, he has one of the best gloves in MLB. You heard that right, a 22-year-old shortstop who already has a top glove in the majors. As he continues developing, the more you'll start to hear chatter about this kid. Last season, he was even nominated for a Gold Glove award. Next up, we have the LA Dodgers, one of the most stacked teams in the sport. As much money as the Dodgers have spent, they have still managed to develop prospects at a very high level. Bobby Miller was no exception for them back in 2023. Last year was his rookie year, and he was called up early because of the pitching injuries that they were dealing with. He had all the pressure on him, but he also did really well, putting together a .376 ERA. That is good, but he has a lot more potential. He's a hard thrower with great stuff and great command. His 2024 is set to be better than his 2023. No more pressure on him, plus a whole other offseason of development. Next up, we have San Francisco. Now, the Giants have multiple players that I am really high on this season, but there is one in particular who I'm so excited for. That is lefty Kyle Harrison. He debuted last year with a .415 ERA, but realistically, he was also a much better pitcher than that. going 6 scoreless against LA and 6 innings scoreless against the Reds, and you just have to be excited about this kid. He has a hard-throwing fastball, but he also has such a great 82-mile-an-hour curveball. The duo of Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison could haunt this division for years to come. Again, another California team. This time, it is going to be San Diego. Now, they have several pitchers who I really do think could break out in 2024. Some who are still prospects, others who are a little bit more developed. But the man that I'm most excited for is Drew Thorpe. He is a 6'6" giant who won Prospect of the Year. And Padres GM AJ Preller has said that there's a good shot that he's up at the beginning of the year. Scouts across MLB say that he has one of the best fastball changeup combos in baseball. Next up, we have the D-backs. Now, the D-backs have one player in specific who I'm looking at, and that is Jordan Lawler. He's likely going to be the opening day shortstop, and his stats look overall very well rounded. He provides good speed on the base paths, so he's always going to be stealing. He also has a pretty consistent bat and good defense. He isn't someone who I think is going to be a superstar, but he's someone who I think could be a damn good player. Now going back into the AL, we have the AL West, one of the best divisions in MLB. We're going to begin with the Astros. Now, Houston is really interesting, right? They have one of the worst farm systems in MLB. Luckily, they have someone on this team who I think is primed to break out next year. That player is Yainer Diaz. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how many catchers hit well in today's era? Most of them are defensive merchants, and that's all that they provide, but that's what makes Diaz such a good player. He put up an 846 OPS and 355 at-bats. To go along with that, he's known for his elite defensive ability. He will be the breakout star of the year in 2024, and you can't tell me otherwise. Speaking of breakouts, by the way, the next player on this list will break baseball. But before I tell you who it is, who won the World Series last year? Oh, that's right, the Rangers. They had one of the best lineups in MLB. Well, they're about to add another star to that lineup. His name is Wyatt Langford. He had such an impressive 2023, starting in low A and finishing the year in triple A. Statistically, this guy is an animal. If you haven't heard about him yet, you will after his rookie year. Now, going back to LA, we have the Angels. Yet again, another catcher on this list, and this time it is Logan O'Hoppe. Now, O'Hoppe took 182 MLB at-bats last year, and he hit 14 home runs and had a 796 OPS. Another catcher who can hit fairly well. Well, we know that he can hit, but his defense, that's the only worry with him. If he can develop his defense into even just an average level, he could be one of the better catchers in this league, and he should be their breakout for 2024. Now going over to Seattle. So the Mariners have someone who I think is going to really improve, and that is pitcher Bryan Woo. Woo was called up last year coming out of AA. Typically, that makes the adjustment very hard. You know, skipping AAA is tough. Coming straight into MLB was tough for him, but somehow, some way, he still had a 4.21 ERA in his rookie year. It's not bad at all considering all the circumstances, and now that he has a whole offseason and a full year of experience under his belt, I'm expecting a big breakout year in 2024. Now heading to Oakland, we have the A's. They lost 112 last year in what was a very poor season. In such a bad year, you would think that there were no bright spots, but there was actually one who I really liked. Zach Gilloff, the 24-year-old second baseman, had an awesome rookie year. In 270 at-bats, he had 14 home runs and an 840 OPS. On a not-so-talented A's team, he will no doubt about it be the highlight of their 2024 season. They just need him to play for an entire year, and then you will see how good of a player that he truly is. Back over to the NL now, we have the NL Central. Starting off, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that is young, a team that is eager to prove themselves. But there's one star who I think everyone forgot about because he was injured almost all of 2023. O'Neal Cruz is that star. A 6'7" shortstop hadn't happened until he did it. He has one of the best defensive arms in baseball, but the most exciting thing is his offense. Hitting 17 home runs in 2022. That was only in 331 at-bats, so if he's healthy for all of 2024, he could do some serious damage. Next up, we have Chicago. Now, keep in mind, they need a rotation arm very bad. They're likely losing Marcus Stroman, so they need someone to replace him. The good thing is that they have a guy. Jordan Wicks is going to be a menace. The 24-year-old was awesome in the minors and was solid in the few starts that he had. Another strong lefty with an elite changeup. Development is what he needs, and he has a whole offseason for that now. I expect him to be awesome. Now, this next team is the Cincinnati Reds, and I could have gone with a lot of players here, but I'm going to be going with the, of course, obvious pick, Noelvi Marte. Now, this guy came up last year. He had a 316 average and 114 at-bats. This Reds lineup is filled with young stars, and he's going to be another one if he plays all year in 2024. But he isn't the only one who's primed for a breakout. How about Jackson Chourio of the Brewers? Before he even ever debuted, he signed an 8-year, $82 million deal. He broke out in the minors back in 2022, but it's time that he breaks out in MLB in 2024. His statistics indicate that he won't be in the minors much, if at all, next year. He's currently ranked as the number 2 prospect in baseball at only 19 years old. He will be a serious contender for Rookie of the Year next year. Watch out for this kid. Lastly, in the NL Central, we have the Cardinals. Now, they debuted Jordan Walker last year, a young 21-year-old outfielder who hit 16 homers and 420 at-bats. In a full season, we'll see everything on display. He has potential with his power, and overall, he'll be a breakout star. He's a big guy. I mean, he's 6'6". It isn't just the bat that's a positive. He also has a great arm in right field, and there's a lot to look forward to with this kid. One of the best players to look out for next year. Now, going back into the AL, we have the Central. Starting out with the Minnesota Twins, there's only one correct option for this team, man. Royce Lewis, the 24-year-old rising star. One of my favorite players in baseball. He has such a great hitting ability. He's such a big part of that Twins team right now. 2024 is going to show just how important that he is, but his statistics definitely showed how good that he was. Now, for a division rival, we have the Tigers. The Tigers have so many young players that I'm very high on, Kerry Carpenter being one of the biggest, but I'm going to be taking the pitching route. And here, my take for the Tigers is that it will be Tarek Skubal. The 27-year-old has been in the league for, a little while now, but as we know, he's injured every single year. But finally, he got healthy during 2023, he pitched a 2.80 ERA, and if he rides off of that momentum that he had in that second half, and then he just brings that into 2024, there's a good chance that he becomes a superstar pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, but, we'll see. Next up, we have the Cleveland Guardians, a team that is heavily relying on prospects for their future. They're trying to build a foundation right now, and I do think that they have one guy who could be a key part of that. That is Kyle Manzardo. A little bit of a hot take, but I think he will break out. Now, Manzardo was traded to the Guardians at the trade deadline from Tampa Bay. He had such a good 2022 in the minors and, kind of a down year in 2023. Regardless, he had an 800 OPS. He played a good bit of AAA. We could see him up as early as opening day. Watch out for Manzardo, man. Now, going over to the Royals, there's one man who I have in mind, Vinny Pasquantino. The man was so good in 2022. I was impressed, man, everyone was impressed. We were all bracing for a breakout 2023, but then he had to get surgery, and yeah, it just kind of sucked. Statistically, he wasn't great, but he also did walk more, and he also limited his strikeouts, so those are two big things, and he just has to go ahead and build off of all of that. Plus, the home run total was not too bad over the year, so I think that he could be a breakout player for 2024. Last team in the Central, we have the White Sox. What can I say? Bad team, bad offseason, not a team to look forward to. Not really anyone who I'm bracing for other than, I guess, Garrett Crochet. He came up in 2021 and he looked like the team's future closer. He was injured all of 2022 and then he came back in 2023. He's definitely not the same pitcher anymore, but he still looks good. Maybe he ends up being a breakout. I don't know, man. I had to go with the reliever just because they don't really have anyone who's that exciting. Finally, the last division of the video, we have the NL East. Starting off with the Mets, a very interesting team because they were going so heavy on the MLB team, and then they realized that they needed prospects. So slowly but surely, they have built a top farm system in baseball, and I think that there's one player who we have to go with, Francisco Alvarez. Francisco came up quite a while ago, and when he was called up, he was the top prospect on the team by far. His 2023 stats were really good, having 25 home runs at 22 years old. Considering he's so young, as he continues to get older, he will just get better. Plus, he was good defensively. This is a man that the Mets want to keep around for a while, and his 2024 proved exactly that. For our next team, we have the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, for the Phillies, I see Mick Abel as the breakout for 2024. Abel's only 22 years old, and he has the stuff to be a really nice arm. He's the number 2 prospect for Philly, and he has a lot of room to grow. When you look at his stats, they aren't that great. If I'm going to be honest, they're really not. But if you look at each game, he had a lot of bad games, but he also had a lot of good games. Getting him on a consistent basis is what Philadelphia wants to do. If they could get him pitching at his highest level consistently, he would be a very good pitcher for that rotation. I mean, imagine, you got Wheeler, you got Nola, Suarez, and then you throw Abel in there. That would be a very solid 4. But we just need him to pan out before anything. Next up, we have the Braves. Early in this offseason, they landed Jared Kelenic. Kelenic was once a highly talented prospect with the Mariners. The 24-year-old sucked in 2021 and in 2022, but 2023 looked promising. I'm hoping that he continues that success in 2024, and you know what? This is the Braves. The Braves are able to fix everyone. They have one of the best offenses in baseball. He would only add on to that. He would just be yet again another luxury for this team. Moving on to Washington now, we have the Nationals. The Nationals have multiple players ready for 2024, but I've been a Mackenzie Gore fan for a long time. He had a 4.44 ERA last year, not perfect at all, but he's a lefty that has so much movement on his off speed. It's just any year now, and I'm going to go ahead and say that 2024 will be that year that he takes that leap and he becomes consistent. While he hasn't been great, he has the potential to be great. Lastly, we have the Miami Marlins. Now, for the last 3 seasons, we've been waiting on someone to develop. His name is Edward Cabrera. Ring a bell? Well, yeah, because he's been on everyone's radar for a long time. We know he's gonna break out, it's just a matter of when will he break out. The Marlins have developed players like Luzardo, they've developed Trevor Rogers, and so many others. I think that Cabrera will be yet again another arm that they do develop, and if he just improves his control a little bit, he would be so much better. But his control has been the main killer in his career so far. Going into this offseason, I hope that he made that a priority. If he did, his 2024 is going to be great. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already, and peace out.